We don't have the manpower. NBC News reports that's just one concern from the dozens of sources familiar with the Justice Department's January 6th investigation. Right now, they're unsure whether the resources they have at their disposal so far are enough. Just consider the 850 arrests that have been made. And that, quote, every new case requires new resources from the Justice Department and the FBI, as well as any other law enforcement entity assisting with arrests, and starts the clock on defendants' speedy trial rights. I want to bring in NBC Justice correspondent Ryan Riley behind this reporting. So, Ryan, you write this is a logistical nightmare. We've got bureaucratic issues. What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the sheer volume of cases is one of the biggest issues here. You know, when they first started out, there was this idea that 800 people went inside the Capitol, and that was just blatantly not true. As it turned out, more than 2,500 people went inside. On top of that, you've got about 350 people wanted by the FBI still who have not yet been arrested, most of whom are accused of assaulting officers outside of the Capitol building. So it's just a tremendous volume. It's something the court system and the Justice Department isn't used to. These cases continue to grind out every day. And in fact, just today, there's a defendant named Elliot Bishai, who actually, I believe our NBC News cameras caught outside of the courtroom, who is in the process of being sentenced at this very moment. The judge is handing down the sentence right now. So, you know, these cases are continuing to come through the court system every day, and it's just a lot of volume for the Justice Department to handle. So some of the sources I spoke with really think that it's really important that these new resources come into this investigation as soon as possible. Some of those resources are set to come in soon after Labor Day. There's going to be some temporary U.S. attorneys who are appointed. But, you know, this is just a massive investigation, and you have to juggle all of those ongoing prosecutions with all of these new cases that of the hundreds of individuals who have not yet been arrested, who will eventually be arrested when the FBI and the DOJ can sort of put them through the pipeline here, Lindsay.
This morning, we're hearing from Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. This is for the first time since writing that reversal of Roe v. Wade. Speaking in Rome, the conservative justice mocked foreign leaders who criticized the opinion.
I had the honor this term of writing, I think, the only Supreme Court decision in the history of that institution that has been lambasted by a whole string of foreign leaders. One of these was former Prime Minister Boris Johnson, but he paid the price. What really wounded me was when the Duke of Sussex addressed the United Nations and seemed to compare the decision, whose name may not be spoken, with the Russian attack on Ukraine.
Now, Alito's speech was focused on protecting religious liberty. That was the overall theme. CNN's Joan Biskupic is joining me now. A lot of sarcasm there, Joan.
It was so classic Samuel Alito, Brianna. You know, he exudes a sense of aggrievement all the time, even as he is winning. He had the majority in the decision that he said, whose name cannot be said, and that's the Dobbs ruling, where the justices rolled back a half century of reproductive rights, women's privacy rights in America. And he also has been in the majority plowing ahead on all sorts of religious conservatism, but yet he cannot help but engage in sarcasm. That's his way. There have been times when the court didn't go as fast or as far as Justice Alito wanted it to go, and he exuded this, sense of persecution in various dissents or concurrences. But now the brakes are off, and he is winning. He held on to his majority, a narrow 5-justice majority, to reverse Roe v. Wade from 1973, and then also this session, the conservative majority allowed more prayer in public places, such as, prayer on a football field, and also more government funding of religion. So Samuel Alito is winning despite how he sounds.
So curious to know how the Chief Justice would feel about this. Joan Biskupic, always great to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, new this morning, stunning revelations coming out of the new memoir of former President Trump's son-in-law.
In his new book, Breaking History, a White House memoir, Jared Kushner details multiple clashes with one-time fellow Trump advisor Steve Bannon. He describes Bannon's presence in the West Wing as, quote, toxic.
Kushner also says that Bannon threatened to, quote, break him in half if Kushner turned on him. CNN White House correspondent Jeremy Diamond joins us now. Jeremy, it's quite an inside view also of the divisions in the Trump White House. What are we learning?
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, listen, we reported on so many of these internecine fights between the Trump team in real time, but to hear it directly from Jared Kushner in this forthcoming memoir really is remarkable. And in this excerpt obtained by our colleague Caitlin Collins, Jared Kushner describes Steve Bannon as a, quote, toxic presence, and he describes a number of fights with him and the way that the Trump White House reacted to Steve Bannon and his proclivity for leaking to the press in particular. Kushner describes one episode where he urged Steve Bannon to essentially stop leaking about Gary Cohn, the president's chief economic advisor, during the early part of his term in office. And Bannon essentially responded by claiming that Gary Cohn was leaking about him. And then he issued this threat to Jared Kushner. This is, again, according to Jared Kushner, saying, quote, "You're the one undermining the president's agenda, and if you go against me, I will break you in half. Don't F with me." And again, that is Jared Kushner's recounting of this. We've reached out to Steve Bannon's spokesperson and have not yet heard back. Now, Kushner describes the fact that he was, quote, woefully unprepared for this media war with Steve Bannon. But the reality, when we think about it, is that Jared Kushner often came out on top of many of these clashes with other White House officials. With Steve Bannon in particular, you'll recall that Bannon was fired from the Trump White House just 8 months into President Trump's term in office. And Jared Kushner also describes in this book the reaction of White House aides after Bannon was fired, talking about one episode where Stephen Miller joked about splitting up Bannon's responsibilities as Kushner and Hope Hicks calling different reporters that they believed Bannon was leaking to. But again, ultimately offering a really interesting insight and portrayal of those fights inside the Trump White House, and this time from Jared Kushner's mouth himself, not something we've heard him speak on publicly before.
Jeremy Diamond, thanks so much.
To this story that shows absolutely awkward tension within Fox News and the Republican Party, but that's not why we're covering it. We're covering it because it actually can matter. We've mentioned this before. Rupert Murdoch remains a very powerful owner of the largest mainstream conservative media empire, and we've seen Fox News has now started just ignoring entire Trump speeches. Murdoch outlets say he's unworthy to be president again. And then you have someone who used to be the kind of center-right leader of the Republican Bush party, Karl Rove. He's writing in, of all places, Rupert Murdoch's Wall Street Journal that Trump is hoarding millions of dollars from Republican donors. He's not helping other Republicans. And then you have it, quote, donors might not keep giving. Candidates might start to wonder how strong an ally Trump really is. And then there's a shot at the discredited claims about the 2020 election. That may all sound standard and like a low bar, but you don't usually hear that from conservative Republicans in a conservative political outlet like the editorial side of the Journal. Now, Trump was giving that primetime rally in Arizona on Friday. The Fox News evening lineup did not take it live. Here's what they did.
Joining us now, and I'm delighted he's with us, Governor Ron DeSantis from the great state of Florida. I mean, you're just the guy, you're the man of the moment.
The man of the moment, while the former president and self-proclaimed head of the party is talking. You don't see that every day. And everyone, let me tell you, everyone in politics knows what's going on here. They ignore the rally. They gave 13 minutes to DeSantis. Some people saying, that's just cold, man. Now, some at Fox are also worried about what Trump will do, and no one is writing anything right now about who's coming and going. We're just following the split. Trump went after the Fox and Friends hosts of going to the, quote, dark side after they mentioned the factual matter that he is sagging in some Republican primary polls. And then you get this uncomfortable moment where one host mentioned the polling again.
75% of Democrats want somebody else. In the same poll, 55%.
There's that club shot again.
55% of Republicans or people leaning Republican want somebody other than Donald Trump to run. That's up 6% from their earlier poll. And if the former president's watching, you should know those are just the numbers you're relaying. You didn't come up with those numbers, right? CNN came up with them. Right. Ainsley said that if this was a fascinating poll. It is. That's why we just talked about it.
Yeah, but live TV can be, well, revealing. Let's look as that smile begins to fade from Mr. Kilmeade's face when he realizes he is caught live on camera with a co-host talking again about these Republicans who, let's keep it going, just don't like Trump as much as they used to. He almost looks like he's concerned someone might catch him not saying this, but just being near it.
Scientists say that the record temperatures in Europe over the last few weeks would not have been possible without man-made climate change. A global team that included experts from Imperial College London and the Met Office have been running complex weather models since then to establish the extent to which greenhouse gas emissions made the heat wave worse. Here's our climate correspondent, Jonah Fisher.
The hot weather of early last week was unprecedented, with high temperatures recorded across much of the UK. 40 degrees Celsius was felt here for the very first time. Our transport network creaked, and the heat combined with dry weather to lower water levels and create conditions for fires to spread. For a long time, it's been clear that global warming makes heat waves more frequent and more intense. But in recent years, there have been big advances in climate modelling, which means scientists are able to look at what's behind specific weather events, like last week's extremely hot few days.
Having these temperatures is still...
Climatologists, including experts from Imperial College London and the Met Office, have been working round the clock, looking at whether human actions made last week's heat wave worse.
We would not have had last week's temperatures without climate change, that's for sure. So these temperatures are at least 2 degrees higher than they would have been without climate change, but much likely that the real number is closer to what we see in the observations, which is about 4 degrees. So climate change absolutely played a really, really big role.
That's with the world warming by 1.1 degree. With global greenhouse gas emissions yet to start falling, even hotter weather and more heat waves look inevitable.
The implications are that if we want to keep a heat wave like this a rare event, we really have to get to net zero greenhouse gas emissions very soon.
The current goal is net zero emissions by 2050. To reach it, we're going to have to stop using fossil fuels to run our cars, warm our homes and generate electricity. Jonah Fisher, BBC News.